we got a little taste of what Black Monday could feel like, and it's only early November here with the Saints announcing that they have moved on from Dennis Allen. And look, I'm not terribly surprised. I think we can all see what was happening there, and it doesn't look like a team that had an identity and a plan after really starting the season looking like maybe that they were going to be able to overcome the odds and all the doubters of what Derek Carr could be with this new offensive coordinator. I mean, you know Dennis, you've been around him, he's coached you before. You know, what do you make of all this?
Well, you know, I know the Saints organization really well. Spent 5 years of my career there. The first 4 years, DA was a defensive backs coach. And really enjoyed my time with them. Was always great to me when I'd come back or need anything from the Saints. And I think this just came down to him not being able to be a great head coach. Now, I would say he's a very good defensive coordinator. And there's a difference between being a defensive coordinator, which he so called the plays, and handling all the aspects of the organization. And quite honestly, it's a results-based business, right? And the results didn't speak for themselves. After 2-0, they lose 7 straight games, which is just, I mean, and then you know what made it worse? And I know Cam Jordan, and I really like Cam Jordan, but when Cam Jordan tweeted, "We lost to the Panthers," like that had to be like sort of a final straw for ownership. Like, all right, our leader, our guy is tweeting bet. Like, it just was a messy situation. And with Dennis, it's like he'll land on his feet, right? Like he'll become probably another defensive coordinator or work his way back up to that. But it's just a tough situation because I still know a lot of people in an organization. And my whole thing is like, it's almost impossible to follow what Sean Payton did in New Orleans. No matter what or who took over that job, I mean, it's just you're bound for failure. And it comes down to having a quarterback, right? This is the second time that Dennis Allen has gotten fired with Derek Carr as his quarterback. So Derek Carr was hurt. So that's not all on him, but it's crazy how this league works.
Yeah, they never reached the playoffs during his tenure, going 7-10 in 2022, 9-8 in 2023. So I think when you just think the Saints, though, you just think a mess in terms of their front office. Mickey Loomis is the general manager. Jeff Ireland does a really good job with being the head of player personnel, really respected around the league. But they're in cap salary hell all the time. And somebody needs to step in here and grab some control over this organization, especially since Sean Payton is no longer there to do that.
What are you saying? Is Mickey Loomis safe?
I think that ownership has such a strong relationship with Mickey that it would be shocking
he runs the Pelicans
to me
too.
If they moved on. He does so much for her. So that would be surprising, but they definitely need to make some changes, you know. And then, you know, I know you mentioned the Cam Jordan stuff, you know, that tweet. It felt like everyone on the New Orleans Saints was tweeting yesterday.
Yes.
But then you
God,
saw
the Mike Thomas stuff. My goodness.
What do you? I mean,
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Don't what? And I thought Derek actually handled it pretty well in the press conference.
He always does.
It was awesome
is amazing
because
in
he
things.
could have said a lot of things, and he's like,
I
"Look,
know.
that's one of the guys that didn't vibe." Why do we feel the need to put this in social media? Like you're crushing a guy that's already down. I just call me wrong. I didn't agree with it.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you missed those tweets, you could easily find it on Michael Thomas's timeline. He's not one to delete, so they are probably still there.
Yes, they are.
And look, I covered Michael for years, and yeah, look, he could be hot and cold. His personality was all over the place. He was always wonderful to me, but I saw a lot of things that made it really difficult, and I do think the Saints did a great job of trying to keep that stuff in house at times as well.
They did, yeah, they really did.
And so, you know, the fact that Derek Carr can go up there, you know what I was thinking about too when I was seeing him in the press conference? It depends on which organization we're talking about, but I wonder if the PR person is good enough to know I need to give the quarterback a heads up that a former teammate
100%.
is tweeting about him, and they're definitely going to get asked, you know?
Oh, yeah.
See, you say 100%. I've definitely spoken to players after press conferences, and they were not ready for things. They were not ready for a question.
Yeah, every team I've been
Like-
around, they do a good, whether you like it or not, it is literally their job to prepare you. So I'm glad he was prepared going up there.
Yeah, he seemed prepared, and
Yeah.
he answered it in the best way possible. I think he even said he likes the guy, right? It was like, it's just we didn't see eye to eye. So, look, we're too early on this in terms of, I think, talking head coach candidates. But, the name Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions.
Come on back.
That seems to be the name that's floating around, obviously, because of his connections to New Orleans. And it makes a lot of sense. But I also think he's going to be a coach that is going to be getting a lot of interviews. So it may not.
Let me ask you this from being in the know and talking to all these GMs before we move on to the subject. The Saints, right? Sean Payton since 2006. Dennis Allen has ties to New Orleans. Aaron Glenn, ties to New Orleans. Are they overlooking you're not saying he's getting a job, but if they were to hire another New Orleans ties coach, that would be a little bit alarming to me.
Yeah, they should go run to Detroit and beg for Dan Campbell.
Dan, come on back.
Come on back, Dan. Look, I think that New Orleans is a special place, as you know, and there's definitely a family feel. It doesn't shock me that they've made these decisions based on that. But I could see them definitely going outside of that New Orleans connection to get this right, especially Mickey knowing that he's got to turn this thing around. Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.